This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. On today's show, Dan is back. He's back in town after his trip to France. I also bought him a new microphone, so hopefully his audio sounds a bit better than normal. Let me know what you think with the new microphone because we are experimenting. Also, as I mentioned in the show, I had to buy the mic for Dan because he's too tight to buy one for himself. And when I say he's too tight, that means someone that doesn't like spending money, which is Dan. Okay, so here is Dan and I talking. The topic of today's show is traveling. So have fun. Dan the man, how are you?
I'm very well. How do I sound on my brand new microphone?
Well, I hope good because I had to pay for that. So hopefully people will be able to hear you better now. We are professional now, Dan and I.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first and only time I will ever say this to you the first time I've ever said this to you in 27 years, and I don't think I will ever say it again. But I will admit that I missed you. And I think the listeners did too, because they had to listen to my boring voice for the whole of the last podcast.
I listened to that podcast, and you're right, it was very boring.
Well, two boring voices are always better than one, Dan. So with you on the show, we can rock and roll. So are you ready to rock and roll?
I am ready, yes.
Okay, let's go. So even though I said I missed you, I would also like to say that you are a piece of shit for abandoning the rock and roll English. Okay, I would never do that because I am an honest and integral man.
I didn't abandon the show. I just couldn't make the recording. And besides, you're hardly honest. On your last week's show, you even said that you tried to... Well, you didn't pay for that dinner.
Yes, that is actually true. Thanks for listening to the show, Dan. It's nice to know that even if you abandon us, you are still listening. But that was a one-off, Dan. That was a one-off. What does it mean, a one-off?
It's only happened once.
It's only happened once, and it will never happen again, just in case anyone is listening or the owners of that restaurant.
Are there? Have you uploaded the pictures of you on the CCTV cameras? Okay.
Yes, I have. There was a bit of interference there. I hope that doesn't come on the recording. Anyway, the pictures are there. I have owned up to my mistake. What does that mean, Dan? I've owned up to my mistake.
Well, you have admitted you are a piece of shit.
That's right, Dan. We are both pieces of shit. Maybe that's why we get on so well. Get on, another phrasal verb there. Why we have such a great relationship. So how was France, Dan? Good?
Yeah, it's very good. Hot.
Yeah.
I caught a little bit of a tan. I think you will agree.
Well, that's not difficult for you because you're so white. So a little bit of sun probably burns you anyway. So about France, actually, I've got a statistic for you about France.
Go on.
Are you interested?
Of course.
So France is the most visited country in the world because stupid tourists like you travel to France more than any other country.
That can't be true.
It is true. I'm telling you. And if you look on the internet...
Of course, yeah. The source of all reliable information.
Reliable. Very good. So information that you can trust. Okay, but that's actually what we're talking about today. Not France, but traveling. Do you like traveling?
It's okay.
I always find it strange when people say, like, oh, I love traveling. I think, who doesn't? Who actually dislikes going away? When you talk about like interests or on a CV, it's like, what are your hobbies? Traveling,
guitar.
Reading. Hey, guitar's all right.
Yeah, I know, but everyone on the planet plays guitar when they're going for a job.
Oh, when they're going for a job, yeah. Yeah, I don't play the guitar. Dan does, though. Dan is a rock star.
Not really.
He was a rock star.
I was, once upon a time.
Yeah, once upon a time. Oh, fantastic. So, traveling is actually good for you as well, according to a study from Cornell University in New York. Did you know that?
No, but how much money are they wasting on these studies? I could have told them that for free. That's such an obvious
It is. When he said there as well, I could have told them that. That was a fantastic piece of vocabulary. Could have told them that. Yeah, I agree with you. But I'm going to tell you some of the science, okay, Dan? Because I'm a professional. I've done my research. Do you have any idea why it's good for you?
No.
Well, I thought you could have told them.
Well,
obviously you couldn't because you know nothing about it.
I can't go into the finer details, but I could. It's like saying drinking water is good for you. Everyone knows that. I couldn't tell you why.
Okay, well, the easy reason is because it makes you happier, and scientists have confirmed that the key to happiness, which everyone's looking for, is through experiences rather than things. Because if you buy something like a computer, your happiness with that product will go down, but your happiness from traveling and experiences goes up as time passes. What do you think? Do you agree with that statement?
Yes, I guess so. Does that include traveling to France?
This is what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Are you happier after your trip to France?
I think I'm about the same, to be honest. So I don't know what that says about France.
Well, that's a good point. Notice there I said trip to France there. Travel would normally be the verb. So, for example, to travel somewhere. And trip is the noun. So Dan's trip to France. Yeah, it could be France, or it just could be because you're a boring person.
Or a combination of the both.
A combination of both, yeah, probably. And another reason is that it says you are less likely to compare your experiences with someone, but you can compare material things. Like you could say, you've got a better computer than me. You've got a more attractive wife than me.
You say that, but often you have compared your experiences to my experiences.
Well, I think that's just the competition element between us, which will never die. But I don't. Yeah, in fact, I probably compare experiences more than material things.
So maybe you should start buying more material things.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, because I have travelled a lot and I'm not happy. So maybe
where have you travelled to?
Oh, lots of places, baby. Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Australia.
Hull
is in England, a very depressing place. So yeah, many places. And the last reason it has here is it says that shared experiences connect us to other people. Makes your bond. What does it mean, your bond?
Connection. Well, obviously.
Relationship is the word we were looking for, Dan. No correct answer there. So yeah, it makes your bond stronger with other people. In fact, I would like to talk about an experience that we shared, you and I, when we shared a caravan in Favignana, Favignana is a small island near Sicily for some of the listeners that are not from Sicily. How was that experience for you, Dan?
It was fantastic. Although I almost died several times.
So a caravan as well is like, let's say, a mobile home. And it was €10 for the night between two people, so €5 each.
Martin refused to pay the extra €3 a night for a comfortable bed.
That's not true. We were actually going to stay in a tent, but then we changed our minds at the last minute and decided to go for the luxury €10 a night.
I'm going to find
caravan.
a picture of this caravan, okay? So you can put on the website and your listeners can decide and make their own opinions.
I don't know what Dan the man was expecting for €10 a night, but obviously the caravan was a piece of shit like me and Dan.
I was ill for a week when I got back home.
Well, that shows you're weak. You are not strong.
They had some rare strain of virus, I'm sure, because it was. I was seriously ill when I got home.
Oh God, you are weak, Dan. You have always been weak. You have always been there. Present perfect. Started in the past. Still in progress. Boom shakalaka. And let's talk about travelling a bit more generally now. Where's the best place you've ever been?
I don't know.
I don't know why I ask you on this show, Dan. I mean, really, your job is to talk, and you don't even talk. Where's the best place? I don't know. What do you think about this? I don't know.
Well, I know
what is the point?
I know wherever I pick, you're going to take the piss out of me for it. So,
take the piss. Now I know why you're on the show, Dan, because it's vocabulary like that. Okay, take the piss is a fantastic English term, which means
you're the English teacher here. Go on, you explain it. I can't.
Means to make fun of someone, to like make jokes about them. Yeah, I probably will take the piss out of you. But
I like Dublin and Rome.
Dublin.
Have you been to Dublin?
Jesus Christ! Of all the places in the world,
this is why I didn't want to answer.
Where's the best place you've ever been, Dan? Dublin. Jesus Christ.
I like Dublin. I could live there.
Well, thanks for that.
All right, what about you? Where's your favourite place?
Good question. I really liked Valencia when I went there. Actually, I don't know why.
What about Verona?
Place in my heart. Verona. When I went there without you.
Correct.
Let's not bring that story up again, Dan. What's the worst place you've ever been to?
Tunisia.
I mean, any reason for that?
It was a shithole. Where I stayed was a shithole. Maybe not all of Tunisia, but I didn't like it. And I was seriously ill when I was there.
We've got listeners in Tunisia, Dan, so do not say anything bad about Tunisia.
Yeah.
It's probably that Dan was being boring.
It was the resort.
Like usual. Sure, it was the hotel, yeah. And has anything crazy ever happened to you whilst you've been away?
Well, what do you mean by define crazy?
Something not normal.
I can't think. You put me on the spot. What about you?
Oh, that's actually a good term there. You've put me on the spot. So what you mean is I didn't give him time to prepare, and I've asked him that question straight away, which I didn't give him time to prepare. Normally I sent him something before, but today I didn't.
He's hasn't been professional, have you? You've been...
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Craziest thing that's ever happened to me, I don't know either. But I remember once I was in Thailand and we were going to a bit of a dodgy part of town. And what do I mean by dodgy part of town, Dan?
Not very nice.
Not very, a bit dangerous, Dan. Come on, you're still sleeping after your trip in France. So dodgy, a bit of a dangerous part of town. And then I heard, pow, 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 pow. So I saw the guy next to me, and he.
You shit yourself, didn't you? You shit yourself.
Well, shit yourself, yeah. He made a move, like he took one step like he was running. So then I saw that and I just started running because I thought someone was shooting a gun. And I honestly think I sprinted about 100 meters and then sort of jumped behind a wall to take cover. And then as I tried to sort of just look around the wall to see what was happening, I just saw for about 100 meters, everyone just completely laughing because it was,
what was it?
Actually it was a car.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So the craziest thing that ever happened to me was
a car
making a strange noise. So yeah, that's about as crazy as my life gets. Anyway, thanks for your time, Dan. Get some sleep for next time because I need you in better form. Okay.
Okay. Try to give me some sort of notice next time for what we will be talking about.
Sure.
And I will be on better form.
Okay, that's good to know. So just information for the listeners there. Remember to go travelling to increase your happiness, or for your happiness to stay the same, like Dan's.
And go to Dublin.
Go to Dublin, of course. Yeah. Go to Dublin. Okay, thanks very much, Dan.
Cheers.
Before I talk about the vocabulary there, notice how Dan said cheers when he finished. Very nice English term, cheers, basically to say thanks. American people normally take the piss out of us for saying that. And if you listened before, you will understand what take the piss out of someone means, which means to make fun of someone. And again, is a very British term. Some of the other rock and roll vocabulary we had there was a one-off, which, remember when I said when I was a criminal for one day, it was a one-off because it only happened one time and will never happen again. get on well when I was saying why Dan and I have such a great relationship, because we get on well. And to own up to something, again, going back to the restaurant incident, I owned up to it. I understood I had made a mistake and I said, yes, I'm sorry. I am a piece of shit. Reliable, when Dan was talking about reliable information. So reliable is something or someone that you can trust. Once upon a time, I'm sure most people have heard that, but the way Dan used it when he said, I was a rock star once upon a time, which is to say a long time ago, because Dan is a very old man now. We talked about bond, which is your relationship with someone. I think we said our bond is stronger after our terrible time in the caravan, which, remember, caravan is like a mobile home. Probably the most rock and roll piece of vocabulary was when Dan said, you've put me on the spot. And when I asked him what the best place he has ever been to is, if you put someone on the spot, you don't give them any time to prepare. So if I say to you now, what are your top 5 films of all time? And I don't give you any chance to prepare, then I put you on the spot. And dodgy was another one. So dodgy in this context would mean dangerous. Remember, I went to the dodgy part of town, and which is when I heard the gun, which I thought was the gun. And it actually was just a car. But I thought it was a gun because I was in the dodgy part of town. That's the problem. Okay, so thanks for listening. I hope the audio was a bit better. Remember to let me know. Any questions or any comments are all welcome. Remember to obviously to keep telling your friends, keep listening, and we will see you on Monday. Thanks very much, and rock on.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.